Hello, my name is Jodi Low, and this is the Leadership Lowdown, powered by the BBB and You and Improved. The Leadership Lowdown cuts through the clutter and gets to the heart of what makes businesses tick. We want to share the stories that matter to you, all of the successes and triumphs and all of the pitfalls, and everything that happens in between. So with that, let's get on to today's show. Well, welcome to the Leadership Lowdown. Today, I am here with a new friend, Mr. Lloyd Hopkins, and you are the founder of the $1 Million Teacher Project.
I am.
I am excited about this conversation because just in learning a little bit about you and the work that you do, I'm like, let's shine a light on amazing teachers and the work they do. So I am so curious, as I'm sure our listeners are. First of all, tell us about what the $1 Million Teacher Project is, and then we can dive more into the good specifics of how you got there.
Well, first, I want to give you kudos and props for the platform you've created with Leadership Lowdown and the sincerity you put into shining a light on other leaders and giving us the opportunity to share our story, because you never know who you're going to inspire, who you're going to motivate, who you're going to help through a difficult time. So I want to thank you. I'm excited to be here today. Thanks for sharing your platform.
Well, I appreciate it, and we're so honored to have you here. Yeah. Excited to hear your story. I'm excited.
So $1 Million Teacher Project is a passion project of mine. You know, I'm an education reformer at heart. We were talking a little bit off air before we got on the interview about my story. I'm a product of the west side of Phoenix, you know, Maryvale area, came from a single parent household, the middle of three boys, and we didn't have a lot of positive role models in my life growing up, you know. And so often what happens is that you find yourself falling into the wrong crowds and around the wrong folks, you know. And then the person that typically exists or is present in your life when you don't necessarily have it in your familial structure is the teacher. Yeah. You know, and the teacher that's able to kind of pour into you, help you recognize your talents.
Absolutely.
In my story, I didn't have that. You know, I didn't have that exceptional teacher, that kind of movie moment where that from Lean TV. On Me, that's like, Lloyd, you're going to be somebody, you know. And that's a travesty. You know, no kid should have that story. I didn't really encounter that teacher until I was in college, you know. And so that was the first experience that I went through that led me to launch $1 Million Teacher Project, my own journey as a student, you know, and because I describe myself as a slips through the cracks kid. And what that means is that I wasn't good enough to get a lot of attention when I was in school, and I wasn't bad enough to get a lot of attention, you know? So I kind of just floated in the middle, you know, which can be a very dangerous place to be when you're a kid, you know, when you're going through those insecure phases and you're trying to figure out who you are and how you can contribute to this world and what makes you special, you know, like that can be a very challenging time, you know. So it's important to have quality educators that are ready to meet students in that gap, you know, because the role of a teacher is a very powerful one, because a teacher can make you feel seen or unseen, you know, and we experience it from the moment that when they have a question and they say, who has the answer, and everybody raises their hand, and they have the power to go through and pick somebody to put the spotlight on and say, hey, give me the answer, show me your brilliance. You know, those are very impactful, important moments, you know. And so I went through that experience as a student. Then in my professional career, I graduated high school with this desire to be what I needed when I was a kid, you know, so that led me into community work. That led me into nonprofit work, because I wanted to be a positive male influence for kids that looked like me, you know, that may not have had access to that. So I worked after school recreation. I worked dropout prevention. I work with youth offenders, for well over about 15 years.
Wow. Okay.
But the experience, on my career path, the position I held that impacted me the greatest, which is kind of in alignment of what I was made aware to when I was a kid in school, was the roughly 6 years I spent in the classroom as a teaching assistant.
And that was over at Alhambra.
Yes,
yeah,
I was in the Alhambra Elementary School District at Barcelona Middle School, and I would literally spend like 12 hours a day on that campus, because I was the teaching assistant during the day, running the after-school recreation program at night, and really seeing kids that depended on the school.
Right.
They ate their meals there, they socialized there, and also was also exposed to how much time teachers spend with our kids. Yeah. 8 to 9 months out of the year, they're spending more time with our kids than we do. You're a parent, I'm a parent, especially in those early years of education. Teachers are spending more time with our kids than we are, 100%. And we're trusting in our most valuable resource, which is our kid. Yep. And I saw teachers coming into the classroom every day desiring to want to do great work with their kids despite being under-resourced, undervalued, underpaid, and overworked.
Yep.
And that's a community issue.
Yep.
That's something that we all should care about.
And is that what was the impetus to starting?
Yeah. I really realized that as a global society, we need to do more for teachers. And there really aren't a lot of organizations that are doing work in the education space specifically focused on the teacher. Yeah. You got a lot of programs that are focused on kids and technology and beautiful buildings.
Yeah, but really not on the teachers.
But not a lot that are
right.
specifically focused on the teacher and the teacher's well-being.
Well, and now more than ever, we're losing so many fantastic teachers just due to the nature of that sector, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not taking care of them. We're not treating them well. We're not paying them right. And we're losing some great educators.
We have 6,000 classrooms right now in the state of Arizona without a permanent qualified teacher. Wow. That is impacting thousands of students in the state that are learning from long-term substitutes, teachers teaching outside of their specialty.
Right. And last I saw, we were 48th in education. Is that right?
We always battle towards the bottom. It's between us and Mississippi, which in a very affluent state like Arizona, we're the fifth largest city. And what you really see is where our priorities lie. Yeah. And unfortunately, education ranks low on the totem pole. Yeah. And our education system is the only system that we're complacent with being towards the bottom or last. And everything else, we're always trying to be number one. Right. We're always trying to fight to be number one.
You're right. We're almost okay with have this lackadaisical way. It just is what it is, as opposed to doing something. So how do you, and how does the project go about, I know there's different sort of pillars, if you will, of how you go about tackling this issue.
Yeah,
so what does that look like?
Absolutely. So the first thing is that, to kind of putting the button on what we were talking about a moment ago, is that the state our education system is in right now is actually a fixable issue. And that's truly what led me to create $1 Million Teacher Project. So what we do is, $1 Million Teacher Project is a teacher retention and recruitment organization here in the Valley that focuses on Title I schools in marginalized communities. Okay. So a Title I school, for your listeners, are schools where at least around 80% of the students are on free and reduced lunch. And in order to qualify for free and reduced lunch, you have to be living at or below the poverty level. So that paints the picture of the kind of communities and environments that we look to serve. So what we do is when we partner with a Title I school, we help them create community-centered programming that helps them increase how their teachers are recognized, drive more support directly into their classrooms, and create innovative ways to impact how their teachers are compensated. And that's where our 3 pillars came from that you just mentioned. So our 3 pillars are recognition, support, and compensation. Great. So what that looks like in practice for us is under our recognition pillar, we do things like full catered lunch celebrations for teachers. Because being a teacher is largely a thankless job. You would be amazed by how many teachers don't even get as much as a pencil in appreciation for the hard work they do every single day, right? It's largely a thankless job. So what we do is we want to create displays of appreciation. So we partner with restaurants, like we'll work with like a Ling and Louie's, or we'll work with Sombreros, or fantastic restaurants across the valley that donate the catering, to come onto these school campuses, because they also value teachers and want teachers to feel appreciated. We work with businesses to sponsor those lunches, and we recognize teachers over lunch, so they see that the community cares about them. We also do monthly teacher spotlights. People can nominate teachers to us. We go through the nominations, and then we pick a teacher to get a green carpet gift display. So green carpet is one of our brand colors. So we bring a green carpet, get all the kids on the campus attend, because we want the kids to see their teacher being elevated, because we want the teaching profession to be aspirational. We want kids to say, I want to teach.
I want to be a teacher. Yeah.
And being a teacher should be a student's first example of success.
Yeah.
It should be a student's first example of somebody that's doing what they love for a living every day. The teaching profession should be one of your earliest exposures to that, and so that's what we're trying to create through our 1 in a Million series, where we highlight a different teacher every month. Under our support pillar, we have a program called Classroom Support Team, where we bring in interns and volunteers directly into the classroom to support a great level of teachers. We also do an annual classroom supply drive called the Teacher Tree that's actually running right now. It started in July. It ends September 2nd. So if anybody out there has classroom supplies, you want to donate them, you can go to Arizona Mills Mall. We have a teacher tree display right near the food court. Staples off of 16th Street in Camelback. We also have a drop box there as well. So if anybody wants to donate supplies, they can go there. And then under compensation, we work with businesses to offer meaningful discounts to educators annually. So where an educator can come in and show their ID and get a discount on goods and services, similar to like a veterans discount or a senior citizens discount. We want to turn teacher recognition and elevation and celebration into culture.
I love this. I love everything about this, because what a beautiful niche to focus on, and it's so deserved and it's so overlooked. And decorating a teacher's door on Teacher Appreciation Day is lovely, and there is so much more. So I love that you focused on that. What led you to come up with the ideas or the pillars? Like, how did you put the pieces together? Because you're so succinct in explaining them. How did you come up with this is how we're going to do this?
Yeah, this is years of refinement. When I first decided to do this, I was like a chicken with my head cut off.
Like,
I didn't know what I was going to do.
Right.
I knew that I wanted to impact education, because I think education is the great equalizer. That so many of society's ills can be fixed through education. But when you look at education, it's this big system. So I'm like, how can one guy impact this entire system? So I had to figure out how I could segment a piece of this system that I thought would have the most impact. And that's what led me to the teacher, because I'm a teacher fan. I believe in the power of the role of teachers in society. And then also the entrepreneur in me realized that was a segment or a sector that really wasn't being addressed.
Right.
So I knew I could create a solution that could fill a gap. Because you want to, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you want to create solutions. You want to create something that's needed. So that also came together to kind of to drive me down that direction, that path towards teachers. It was my affinity for the profession, and also realizing enough wasn't being done to support them. So those two things came together.
When you kind of married your love of entrepreneurship, your love of community service and work in the nonprofit space, teaching, and being that teacher's assistant.
Absolutely.
So really, you brought it all together. How beautiful!
And I describe myself as a social entrepreneur. And which really every nonprofit founder is. That even that anybody running a nonprofit understands that you still have to have business principles in running a nonprofit. The only thing that separates a for-profit from a nonprofit is tax-exempt status. Like we're both environments are still responsible for generating revenue to create their product. A nonprofit's product is a service or something that we're giving to the community to improve our community, where Coca-Cola is producing a soda. But you still need overhead, you still need administration, you still need bodies, and you still need staff to actually deliver the program. And so you can't do that without infrastructure.
Absolutely.
You can't do that without capacity. And you can't just rely on altruism or volunteerism to scale a business, to scale a mission, and so you have to bring business principles into running a nonprofit organization. And so I brought my entrepreneurial background into creating $1 Million Teacher Project, and the way that I landed on the pillars was I went back to school at 30. So I was a non-traditional student. And which benefited me because it made my time back in school more focused. I wasn't worried about going and partying and the kegger and all of that kind of stuff. I was able to use all of my professors as consultants. All of my classroom assignments became an opportunity for me to do research on what was going on in the education system, really figuring out what was going on with teachers. I was working for the county, a county educational organization at the time, and they allowed me to survey teachers across the state so I could learn from teachers firsthand what they felt was most adversely affecting teacher retention and recruitment. And resoundingly, what came back was low levels of recognition or lack of professional respect, lack of support from administration, from the community, and compensation. A lot of people often think the problem just lies with salary, which teachers absolutely deserve to be paid more, but that's not the only reason. That's typically the last reason why a teacher actually walks away. It's those other elements that impact first. So I knew with creating $1 Million Teacher Project, if I'm going to do something that's really going to alter the experience of what it means to be a teacher, we would need to address all three. Support, recognition, and compensation, not just one of them. So we take an ecosystem approach to supporting educators. So they have the resources they need to be successful, so that teacher's positioned to give the student the resources they need to be successful. Our tagline is we support students by supporting teachers. A quality education delivered by an engaged, passionate, motivated educator is our product. That's the service that we're delivering to the community, to schools, specifically to students.
Love it. So for you, was there any big learning moment, whether it was a failure or a huge success, that was like a pivotal turning point for you?
Yeah. So I will say there's been so many, and I'm sure, as you can imagine, running business, being an entrepreneur, you learn so much about yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. One of the first things that I really learned was how to be intentional and how to be really in the moment and how to trust yourself. Because in our heart of hearts, we know what we want to do, but we often talk ourselves out of it, because the idea is too big or it's too scary or we don't think we're smart enough.
So what did you do in those moments when you were like, I don't know how to do this, but I know my mission, I know my focus? What did you do to ground yourself in that knowing and be able to take that next step, even if you didn't know what that next step was?
So the first thing that I always do is I remind myself to be committed to the destination, but be flexible on the journey. It's the road to success is rarely a straight line. You're going to encounter obstacles, unexpected things are going to happen, but be committed to the journey, but flexible on the road to get there.
Such great advice.
The other thing that I appreciate that. The other thing that I always that I always do is I take the pressure off of myself to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remind myself that you don't have to have it all figured out.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
You're going to learn as you go,
Yep.
you know. And once you take that pressure off of yourself to have it all figured out or trying to be the smartest in the room, and know that I'm still just a student.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm going to make some
still
mistakes.
Learning and growing, yeah.
I'm going to do some things well. I'm going to do some things not so well, you know, but stay committed to that destination and you're going to get there, you know. So I tell people all the time, the only genius thing I did was be hard-headed enough to believe that this thing could happen, you know, like to believe that I could actually create a solution. I could turn supporting teachers into a business model that could impact lives. You know, I was stubborn about that and believed that could happen, and was willing to work through all the obstacles that were presented to me to get there.
Yeah.
And not that I'm that I've hit a finish line, or because even still today, there are still challenges and new obstacles that present themselves. Because when I first launched, it was the journey of trying to figure out how I would generate revenue that would sustain me, that where I'd be able to create a salary.
Yep.
And then you figure that out, and then it's like, okay, now how can you invest in capacity and infrastructure and get to a point you can hire staff?
Yeah.
And then you figure that out, and now you have staff, and then that brings a whole new set of...
How do you scale it? Yeah, all the things.
All those things. So it's always a constant evolution. It's always a constant learning experience, you know?
It sounds like you have... to your point, stubbornness, a little hard-headedness mixed with a lot of passion and a lot of drive and focus.
Yes,
it's the Taurus in you. We've been talking about signs today, so that's so funny that you said that. Yeah, that little hard-headedness, but that mixed with your passion and your true knowing of your purpose, where it's like, hey, you know, things may be unsure, you don't know exactly what that next step is, but by golly, you'll figure out one way or the other, you know, how to get there. So I love that. Well, I shared with you before we started, I have a few questions that I wanted to ask you today, just so people can get to know you and just kind of what makes you tick. Okay. So with that, I'll ask you the first one, which is, what is your favorite word?
Ooh, my favorite word. Wow, that's a tough one. I think my favorite word is... yes. You know, yes. Because the word yes is affirming. The word yes is giving you permission and approval.
Yeah, the green light
to move forward. It's a green light on your idea that there's merit, that there's value to this. You know, that like, let's do it. And especially, you know, running a nonprofit, and you get told no a lot. Yeah. Running business in general, you get told no a lot. And, absolutely. And you have to survive those no's to get to the yes. So when you do get to the yes.
That's a good feeling. That's a good feeling.
So even just talking about it now.
So on the flip side of that coin, then, what would be your least favorite word?
Least favorite word. I guess I'll just, the companion word to, if yes is my favorite, no would be the least favorite. Yeah. Even though I think there's a lot to learn from the word no. You know, the word no tests your commitment to an idea.
It does.
You know, because if you can be told no and you use that as an opportunity and you look at that word as a puzzle piece to figure out, okay, how do I turn that no into a yes? Yeah. You know, there's a lot of strength.
There's a tool. There's a tool that, it gets you there. I love that. I love that.
But the word no is, it's not my favorite.
It's not your favorite. I get that. Is there something that turns you on, whether it be spiritually, emotionally, that creatively, that just brings you to life?
I like being in an environment where I'm able to create solutions. Okay. I'm a very solutions-focused person.
So when you're in a space that allows you to creatively come up with ideas.
To be creative, to look at a problem and develop different strategies on how to address that problem is where I feel like I'm at my best.
Okay.
For sure.
Is there something that turns you off completely?
Something that turns me off completely. Networking events. I'm an introvert.
Okay, really?
So I am.
Okay.
See,
everybody says that, right?
Deceiving.
Yeah.
You know, I've learned to be sociable as a survival skill.
Yep.
You know, because I need it because of the roles that I inhabit. But I'm an introvert and I get my energy in solitude.
Yeah.
You know, like, and people can.
Draining. Yeah. You got to recharge the battery before. I can see
those
where the networking events
suckers
might be a little painful then when you're just like, please let me just be quiet. I don't want to be running my mouth.
Anytime after I go to a networking event, I go into a hole for 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh,
before
that's
I come
hilarious.
Back out. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Is there a sound or noise that you love?
You know what? I love the sound of my family sleeping. I love to listen to my wife.
It goes back to the solitude.
I like to,
the quiet.
What it is like I love to listen to my wife sleep, because when you're asleep, it means you feel safe. Like, it means you feel comfortable. It means that you're relaxed, and all the worries from the day or that have been going on in your life have melted away, at least in that moment. And you're at peace, you know,
What a beautiful, beautiful way to look at that. Never have I thought of listening to someone sleep in that manner. So thank you. What a gift to learn that. I love that. I love that reframing of something that we all do daily and looking at it a different way. Yeah. Is there a sound or noise that you dislike?
And it's funny kind of having the companion to the sleep. It's snoring.
Oh, right. You're like, the peaceful sleep I like, the snoring
sleep,
not so much. Yeah.
Can be a little,
You're like, that'll give up. I get that. That's so funny. Is there a profession other than your own that, skill set aside, if you could just do anything, what would that be?
Yeah. I'd be an entertainer. I'd be a rap star.
Okay, so you are a rap star, an introverted rap star.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I want
to see this.
I get on stage and I perform, and then just leave me alone.
And then you're done. And then you're done.
Don't come talk to me in the green room. Like,
oh my gosh,
just enjoy the music and
then done.
Let me be.
Yeah. Interesting. Do you rap?
You would be amazed by how many introverted musicians there actually are.
That is true. You know? That is true. That is their craft, their art, their passion in that moment, and then shut it down.
But they don't like people.
Yeah.
They don't want to deal with people.
Do you have a favorite rap artist or
several?
So
I love Outkast, Jay-Z are some of my favorites. Wu-Tang Clan. I loved when I was a kid growing up. So
lots of them. Do you rap?
I used to.
Yeah.
So my first entrepreneurial journey was I ran an entertainment company in my 20s.
Oh, wow.
You know, and we had an independent record label.
Oh, very
And so
cool.
we released music, and I even was featured on MTV at one point. There used to be this show called MTV Made.
Okay.
Where they paired a kid with somebody that was a professional in an industry they aspired to be their coach. And so I was a rap coach for a young girl out of Sedona named Genevieve, and me and my friends helped her prepare for her high school pep rally. And the MTV cameras followed the whole thing.
That is so cool.
It. Yeah. So that's a little fun fact.
I love
Lloyd.
that. I love that. One thing, like I never thought I'd learn about you today. I love that. Is there a profession not other than your own, but a profession that you look at and you think, oh my gosh, I could just never do that. That sounds horrible.
Yeah. I don't want to down anybody that's in these professions.
Just something that just doesn't resonate with you. You're like
cleaning a sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that professionally.
No.
Cleaning toilets.
Yeah.
Things of
God bless the people that do it.
God bless people that do it. I admire you. And even in alignment with this, like even being a teacher, you know, this is why I'm not in the classroom. taking it back to the mission is I'm not cut out to be a teacher, and we view the teaching profession as something just anybody can do, and that's not the case. It's a skill. It's a talent.
100%.
Nobody's looking at LeBron James like, hey, I ain't gonna play for the Lakers, but we look at teachers like just anybody can do it.
Right.
And you can be a master of a subject, but not be able to deliver that subject in a way that a learner can learn it and apply it.
There's
that's
a connection
skill.
element. Exactly. Like, how do you present it so it sticks and it clicks and people can get excited by it or passionate about it or at least just comprehend it.
Yeah.
So, to your point.
So that's why I do the work that I do today, because you don't want me in the classroom. Yeah. But we need to support the people that do have that as a talent and have that as a skill. We need them in the classroom. So I'm not in the classroom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. So final question for you. If heaven exists, what would you love to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Job well done.
Love that.
Job well done. Welcome home. Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, my friend, you're doing some beautiful, good work in this world, and so necessary and so needed. And I love that you took a problem, came up with a beautiful way to, I don't know if solve is the right word, but contribute to solving something that's so necessary. So thank you for the good work that you do. Thank you. This being the Leadership Lowdown, I would love to wrap up with, do you have any, whether it's a piece of advice that was given to you or word of wisdom or something that you could share with our viewers or listeners that's maybe been impactful for you on your journey?
Yeah. So this comes from the book, The Alchemist, which is my favorite book. And there's a quote that the alchemist says to the young man that's on the journey in the book. And he tells him, when you know what you want, the entire universe conspires for you to get it. So get clarity around what you want. Be intentional about going after what you want. Speak it into existence and let the universe do the rest. I love it. What a beautiful way to wrap up our time together. Lloyd, such a pleasure to meet you and to have this conversation. I know our listeners probably took so many nuggets from this. So thank you so much, and thank you for the good work you're doing in our community. Thank you. Appreciate Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. With that, this has been the Leadership Lowdown. My name is Jodi Low. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, leaders are learners, so stay curious and keep leading with love. And remember, you can catch our show every Thursday morning, but the best way to keep up with new episodes is to subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts.